Hi,
How you
Steve.
doing?
Hi.
Hey,
I'm
hi.
great. I'm
You're
just great.
great. Good.
Can you
That makes me
tell?
feel better. Well, to be fair, I'm a little nervous.
You've
You,
known me for a couple months now.
I
Is
know.
this is this scary to you that I'm just great? This is my fake. I'm just great.
I
It's
know. That's
just,
why. That's why I said that.
dude. How are you holding up, man? I think I'm hitting a wall. I'm
You're
hitting
hitting a wall?
the digital wall. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
I'm doing really good actually.
That's interesting because I was going to ask a survey question on my next live stream, and I
Yep.
think there's as many different opinions out there as I can come up with multiple choice answers. And I'm just doing this on the fly, but because it's part of its spot. This is spurred on by my experience yesterday on my Wednesday live stream. Uh, Great guests. Don't want to take anything away from them. Don't want to take anything away from my co-host. She did great. Everybody was great. I just thought I was off my game. I was really in a tough spot, and I couldn't hide it. I got to go back and watch the recording. I'm a little scared to, but here's what I was going to do. As far as if I was to put out a survey to the people watching this and to you, and I know where you fall because you just said you're great. Even if you weren't, you probably wouldn't tell me because you're a professional.
I'm just that guy.
So say if I said, how are you handling things here 2 months in to our quarantine life? Keep it kind of generic and say, A, I'm bored. I want to get back to some other work because I don't have enough to do. B, I'm doing pretty good. I've found a pretty good rhythm. I'm busy. I got a lot of work going on. Actually, probably B should be. I'm at 50%, and this is a friend of mine said this. I'm at about 50% brain power right now because that's all I need to use, and it's actually a really great place to be. I'm loving my quarantine life. C would be I'm doing pretty good. It's kind of the same as it was pre-pandemic. Um, D would be I'm busier than ever. This is crazy. It's actually increased my workload, and I can't, it's hard to keep up. And then E, if I had a final answer, it's like I've hit the digital wall. I'm burnt out. So where would you say? You right there in the middle. You're in a steady place. You feel you got it going on and everything's good.
Yeah, I do. And I was actually waiting to see what sort of options you're going to provide because I'd be looking for another option. And the options that you provided, I think a lot of people would fall into each category. There is
Yeah.
another category,
Okay.
and I think that other category is I'm excited about the future potential of what we're going to create. And I would put myself into that category. I think as
Wow.
a industry, workplace industry, I think we have the real opportunity to I don't want to say reset, but right size or right place the whole working environment. Traditionally, we have made everyone go into an office, whether they needed to be in there or not. And that was sort of the mindset level set. But at this moment in time, as an industry, we have the opportunity to get things right so that organization can be optimized. I'm also excited about the opportunity of the new technologies that could potentially be coming that will assist and help in that process. And I think whenever you're then with a distributed workforce, organizations will be more open to digital tools to actually assist and aid that innovation, that collaboration, and allow people that do have a 90-minute 2-hour commutes to work to eliminate those if they want to. And everyone, I think, in the long term will be benefit of that. So that's sort of the category I would fit into. Sorry if that sort of dampens the high spirits that you
So
come into
typical.
this
So
this
typical,
this with,
Steve.
you know.
You deflected. That was not the question. I
Oh,
agree with
that
everything
wasn't
you
the
just said.
question.
It's a different question. I agree with all
Okay.
those things you said. I'm excited about that. I don't want to talk about workplace today. I don't want to talk
Okay.
about workplace. This is about us. This is about people, human beings, emotionally, mentally, cognitive load,
Yep.
capacity, ability to stay on course during these unprecedented times. How are you doing personally? And that's what I get frustrated with because when that light goes on and we all put ourselves in front of these cameras, even if we're at our homes and we're in this place that's unusual and uncomfortable, we put on our happy face and say, I'm fine. It's great. Everything's good. And I'm not going to allow you to do that today.
Oh, I mean, I understand that you feel I didn't answer your question, but that, quite frankly, that is sort of my approach to everything that I do, right? I actually really am constantly thinking about, what will the workplace be? How can I assist my organization? How can I grow open source workplace? How can I be more benefit to the organizations that contribute to open source workplace? And a big shout out to Boost Cognition, Ken Van Sommeren, who contributes each week, gives interviews, gives ideas and thoughts on on cognition and the impact of the workplace from his high performance sports background.
Great
So,
stuff.
in essence, that's where I do come from. And me, the guy you see on the camera is very much the guy who's off camera too, and I'm very
True.
transparent like that.
True.
So when I say that that is how it is, and don't get me wrong, right? It's I'm not naive to sort of, you've seen when I'm not in that sort of positive mindset. But, it's, if you go through all those options you provided to me, I think we as individuals are responsible for our mindsets. When I say responsible, we can alter our mindsets, so we can elect to be any one of those choices that you provided. And for me, the way try to keep that positive is always to think forward, to not look back per se. To look at okay, what will this be? What are the opportunities if we draw a line right now, and what does that look like? And it sort of refers me back to a conversation I had with Andrew Mawson, whose video goes live right after this at 8:30 today, where he talked about, okay, so we're at today. That's a benchmark, right? So let's level set what that is, and then let's go, okay, what do we need to do from here going forward? I know you're smiling. You're going, this dude just won't answer my question. He just wants to talk
No,
about workplace all the time.
no, I love it. I think that's great. And I think that is the real you. And I know it because I see you before this camera goes on and after this camera goes on. Sometimes we talk for another half an hour after we stop talking for a half an hour on YouTube. So, no, I think that's really interesting. You're a better man than I, Steve, because I am someone who struggles and is getting more and more comfortable sharing his real emotions. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I hope it's a good thing. I just don't know um, if I'm uh, helping people by being my true self and sharing some of these behind the curtain moments because they happen to me more and more frequently. I'm an optimistic guy too. I love
Yep. Yep.
workplace. I love talking about
Hmm.
my facility management community, people like you, corporate real estate executives. I've just been so thankful and so blessed to be in this community for the last 10 years now or more. And to be a voice or have a platform with my podcast and now these live streams to talk to people. And I know I'm not Dr. Phil and I'm not some, you know, TV psychologist or something, but I've always in even recent years had interest in this issue of mental well-being and we've talked more and more about it. I've had book authors like Lee Stringer and Rex Miller and people from the well building standard community who have really done some great work
Hmm.
connecting the human psyche and our needs as people and tying it into the fact that we have so much of our time is spent in the workplace wherever that is now, and it's not just in a building, it could be anywhere. So I think it's appropriate. It ties into open sourced workplace and it ties into Workplace Innovator. And I love talking about stuff in a real way. And I think it's something that's not still um, I don't know. It's difficult for people to, and again, maybe it's not useful. Some folks are like, "Hey, dude, keep your emotions to yourself, or keep your doubts yourselves, your anxiety
Uh,
to yourself."
I,
I
I
think there's
think,
some that would prefer we not talk about it, and I'm okay with that too. But I can
yeah.
only be me, and that's what I tend to do. So today I came on with a lot going on this week, and a lot of kind of, I think I've had including these broadcasts, I think I've had 7 or 8 live um, webinars, live streams, YouTube streams this week, and it's the eighth week of it.
It's tough. It's
It's a
tough.
lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, right? So when I come in the morning, I'm well rested, I'm read, I'm ready to go. By the time it gets to 3, 4, 5 in the afternoon, I'm done, right? And it's the flip side of it is I'm in bed sleeping probably 8:30 at night.
Yeah.
That's how I sort of maintain. Sleep is the number one thing that people need to focus on, and maximize that sleep, because the difference in my mental state, my optimism, the way I feel, the energy, all derives from the amount of sleep I get. So I that's that's a key focus. But I think
Totally.
what you're expressing is consistent with some of the emotions that a lot of people are going through. And I know tomorrow, if you got a good night's sleep tonight, and you be your old self today or tomorrow again,
Oh yeah.
and I think
Day
that's
by day, hour by hour is what I said. I think I said during the live stream yesterday, minute by minute, because I was,
yeah,
as the
yeah.
conversation goes to different areas, I get excited like you do about the possibilities and the opportunities and some of the silver linings that happened because of our current situation. But then when I talk about in real terms what it's going to look like returning to our offices, and the reason we go to our workplaces is to find those human connections, those synergistic or serendipitous collisions, and the innovation and creativity that comes from just a conversation or a cup of coffee in the cafe, all those things that we are hoping to get back to. It's not going to look that way when we get back. And when I read these articles and I read about what's going on in Asia, and I see videos of the sterile environments and the mask wearing and the physical distancing, and it's all necessary, and it's all stuff we have to, as workplace leaders and managers, have to deal with. As a human being, it makes me sad, and it makes me, you know, disappointed about what this near term anyway experience is going to be about. And then I do have to, then I'll switch the gear and somebody will make a comment about, hey, it's an opportunity to find new creative ways to connect, and let's make the most of the tools available. And maybe there'll be some new tools that come out that allow us to do it in a safe environment from our homes or what have you. And there have been some moments where I'm like, those happy hours on Zoom where we break into little individual rooms and have the more intimate conversations. I love that when I get together with my Capital chapter of IFMA friends, and that's going to happen again this afternoon. And I
Mm.
was telling my this story. I'll just share one more thing, and then we can get off this and get into what you want to talk about today. But the invitation has been coming in for that happy hour, and I have been ignoring it because I knew I had a very busy week. And then yesterday afternoon, I said, I'm not going to do it. I just can't. I've had too much of these Zoom meetings. It's just another digital overload opportunity. Even if it is a happy hour and a time to share and reflect with friends, we still talk about, facility management and workplace issues in those happy hour settings. So I just said, I need to take a break this week. They're going to do it again next week. I'll rejoin. And then I saw my good friend Jeff Snavely was going to be the host today. And I saw a LinkedIn post about that. And I saw it and I said, I got to go there because Jeff's my man. He's been such a supporter of me and this podcast for so many years. He's the guy who interviewed me on episode 100. I don't know if you
Mhm.
remember that
Mhm.
episode
Yeah.
where we kind
Yeah.
of turned the tables and I got interviewed and we went on for 45 minutes, and it was one of my favorite episodes ever. So I'm like, Jeff's the host. I'll be there, and I'll just be a member of the audience. I'm just going to participate as an audience member. I'll chime in here and there if we get into one of those breakout rooms, but I'm not hosting. I'm not in charge of thinking really hard about what the next thing's going to be. So I'm looking forward to it this afternoon.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. And when I join your live stream, I go through the same emotion because I feel like I'm there to support you, listen to the conversation. And yeah, it is a relaxing, it's a different experience, but I get the interviews and the drain that it has. I
You
totally
were
get
on
it.
yesterday, weren't you? One of those questions was you, wasn't it? Or was it?
I was not on yesterday.
Oh,
No,
somebody asked a
no.
question. I'm like, that's Steve Todd. I thought for sure it was about rethinking the way workplaces in cities are managed and maybe
Mm,
creating regional hubs as opposed to everybody going downtown to a big tower. And I thought
yeah.
that's you. That's something you've talked about before. But maybe
Yeah,
someone
no,
else had
and
the same
that's
idea.
yeah, no, no, I mean it's trust me, many of my ideas are not original, I'm open to say that,
Yeah, me
but
too. None of my ideas are original.
yeah, yeah, but there's very few original ideas out there. So we borrow, beg, and steal ideas. But just going back to one of the things that you were mentioning. So you take that mindset, and we touched on it yesterday about vacation time. As organizations, our employees sort of go through the little turmoils that we go through right now, ebbs and flows. Vacation time. You talked about it yesterday. You would love to have that vacation time. You'd love to withdraw and do things, but I don't know if you wanted to sort of pick up on that, or you sort of feel like you're done with it because I
Well,
think,
they reopened golf courses, or they're going to reopen golf courses in my area here in the next week
okay.
or two. So I don't know. Is that something that you think I should do? Is it safe to go to a golf course and not be a spreader of the?
It
COVID-19.
may be safe for you, but it may not be people who are walking around. I don't know how you play golf, but
That's true. The woodland
but
creatures that would be exposed to me as I go into the woods looking for my ball may not be safe.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But no, I think you'd be all right. I mean, I'm not a golf player, so I'd never.
Well, they say the
It's just,
outdoors. What about going to the
Mhm.
beach? Everybody's worried about all these people cramming and crowding the beaches again. I think they're going to open the beaches in Maryland later
Mm.
this month, and that was a big concern in Florida early on. It's a big concern now in California. Uh, but there's some studies, and maybe you're more tuned into the news than I am, that this virus does not do well in the sunlight. That UV rays pretty much looks like it's deactivating the virus pretty quickly, both on surfaces and in the air because of the UV. Are you excited about that?
No, I mean that sounds great, and obviously any positive information we get in ways to protect ourselves and protect our loved ones, I think is a benefit and is very helpful. And it's interesting whenever you hear that information, but then you see the other side of it, where Madrid, Italy, Iran, where there's vast exposure to sunlight, and they was affected so badly, and you're kind of like, not that I'm sort of trying to be dismissive of the positive information or that guidance. But I think what we've learned through this is, one week this will be a positive, then in the next week it'll be something different because something else will appear. So I'm just very conscious of it. But positivity, obviously, it'd be great, and there's obviously whatever we can do to sort of help combat the virus is great. Is great.
See what you did there? Now it's not
I
even
know.
minute by minute. Now it's second by second. I had a few seconds of happiness there, Steve, and you shut it right down. Thanks a lot.
Matt, Matt,
Appreciate that.
something. It's my pleasure. Just stop by anytime, and I'll
Mr.
bring you down. I'll
Realism.
pick you up, whatever you want. And I'm sure tomorrow you'll apologize
Uh,
on my behalf for me.
yes,
But
I'm gonna. That's exactly right. Oh
but
man.
so one other thing I want to talk about, and we touched about it a little bit yesterday. It was an article I was reading on Biz Now there this morning, and it was talking about how technology can be helpful and assist in the workplace as we return to the office.
Yeah.
And it's, talks about, the fresh air. And again, I go back to Akash Ravi's interview on Monday that we released from Space T, where he was talking about the fresh air and the impact, and being able to monitor and report on that is really important. But then it talks about the density, how technology you can use, as you know, with iOffice platform, you can manage the density. Then there's the cleanliness. Can we report the cleanliness of the office? There's then there's touch points, right? So what are the various touch points, and how do we use technology to do that? But the one I really want to talk about was the final one, and it's contact tracing.
Yeah.
And I really want to get your opinion on, contact tracing from an employer perspective, employees providing information to the employer, and how you feel about that. Because I think there are huge benefits to the employee population if everyone signs up and opts into that. There are obviously benefits to the organization, but I think what there are concerns is, how is that information going to be used by the employer? And there are people who are concerned about that information and providing that information. I'm just curious as to if you had a thought or opinion on that.
Oh, I do. It's a great topic because it's something I've been thinking a lot about. And in fact, I think it comes down to one word, whether we're talking about in the workplace or in the general governmental section, angle for this, and or the Apple Google collaboration about
Yeah.
opting into their new Bluetooth app that's supposed to be coming out. It's one word, and I have to give credit to Jeff Snavely again, but it's trust. It's like, who do we trust?
Right.
Do you trust your employer to gather that information for our greater collective good? And do you trust the government to do it? Do you trust Apple and Google? So I think we're going to talk about this next week on the live stream, because he is going to be one of my guests. And I can't wait to get into some of this stuff, because it affects so much of the opportunity and also the potential hurdles and challenges ahead as workplace leaders, as these technologies become available to us. Or just societally, what do we do? Do we opt in? Do we trust the person gathering that data to trace us and track our every move for the benefit of ourselves and others when we do eventually find out someone has been infected? Because as all the public health officials tell us, that's essential to containing this thing. We have to have a good, solid testing and tracing and isolation policy after people are identified. So if we're going to go live with this COVID-19 in the long term, and that's, I think my mindset has changed a lot. It's not about getting to the other side of this pandemic. It's living through it and keeping our economy going and keeping our businesses going and keeping our people going. So yeah, I think it's a great question, and I think it's something that's going to come down to, you know, government leaders making decisions, society deciding what to do with that, you know, private companies making things available to us, people deciding whether to opt into that, and then the real quick tricky one, as always, is the corporation or the organizational decision and deciding, is it an opt-in or to come back into the office, come back into the workplace, you must participate in this. And that's going to be interesting. Do you have any predictions on where that's going to go? To be effective, I would imagine you've got to require some level of participation. I think that's what I was talking about when I talked about going back to the Alamo movie house. One of their questions was, would you sign a waiver or sign as you
Hmm.
bought your ticket, would you accept terms that say you are going to follow a code of conduct and maybe even, you know, be registered as part of someone who's been in that theater at that particular time? Should something arise later that someone else was infected, they'd contact you, or you'd be able to contact them and say, hey, I exposed myself to these other folks. So what do you think?
So there's, I go back to that. We go back to our way back to our conversation. We talked about, going to the store, social responsibility, helping the economy, all the rest of it. I see this as a similar paradigm to that, in a sense of, okay, if I contribute and I do submit the information, it helps the entire employee population. The assurances that I would want is that this will not in any way be detrimental to me as an individual or to other employees as individuals down the road. And if it was able to be assured that way, then happy to contribute. There's always that concern is, if I contribute as an individual, is there a way I'm hurting myself in the long term? And that's where, that privacy all comes through. And that's where I have that conflict. Um, and I don't know how I would feel about that, to be honest. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have the conversation.
Yeah, because
I have a
they can
responsibility,
assure us that it's not going to be detrimental, and they can assure us that they won't use the data for
right?
any, you know, nebulous or nefarious, I guess is the better word, motives. But it comes
Hmm.
down to, do you trust them? Do you trust
Yeah.
your employer? Do you trust your government? Do you trust Apple and Google? It's interesting, and I think people want to trust, and we want to give the benefit of the doubt to these situations. But as I kind of noodle this through, um, I'm not sure. I'd be hesitant if it was the U.S. government saying you must participate. I would say no. If it's a must, that's the thing. We have to create, and this is in any case, and reminds me of in any new change management plan, any new technology introduction. We live in a free society where people make choices and individuals have motivations that are maybe selfish, but maybe suspicious. And depending on the culture of where you are at any given time, that level of trust comes up and down. So we have to build the case and sell the idea and say, this is why it's good. This is very clearly communicate. This is why we are doing this. This is the benefit to you. And yes, it helps everyone. It helps all your coworkers, your colleagues, your fellow society members. And please participate because it's essential that you do, because it helps. But we can't force you to. We live in a free
Hmm.
country. And I
Right.
think that just brings it back to any new introduction of any new strategy, any new technology, any new initiative. We've always talked about it. It's communicating effectively and appealing to individuals' needs, and sometimes framing it in a way that tells them the value proposition in a clear, concise way. And I just
Yeah.
thought of that. So maybe I do,
No, no, it's a great
maybe I do pay
point.
attention to
It
some of the things I've heard over the
No,
years.
no, no, it is. They're great points, and it's the other side of it as well as you think about it. Okay, so where does the tracing stop? Does it Is it then 24/7? So wherever you go on the weekend, you go on vacation, wherever you go, when does that
Yeah.
tracing actually stop with the workplace, and where are the limitations to that? Is it, is there a geo field around every office, or is it just wherever you take your, work? your work device, then you just get captured. And I think those are the things that needs to be painted in a little bit more color, for everybody else. And if it's just when you're in the office and you're in, as I said, that network, that it gets captured, or you know, you're down at your beach, you're out in a golf course, and you then go to the office, you know, um, head office, then it's like, okay, so what happens there, right?
Yeah, it's all tied together. Like we talked
Yep.
yesterday about monitoring our computer activity. The fact that we're in our homes working with company equipment or tapping into a company server, the implication is, the assumption is, we get, we don't know this to be true. I don't know it to be true about my company, but I assume that they're tracking how often I'm on the device and how often I'm engaged with different things. So
Hmm.
um, it's that sticky subject of employer and employee privacy, and where do our rights end? I mean, do you have an answer, or are you just kind of throwing it out there for
No,
people
I
to
don't, have an answer.
kind of
I
give their
don't. I
opinion?
don't. But it's like I want to contribute, but then all those other things go in, and it's like,
Yeah.
how do we get that information to put people at ease? I think people want to have that and do the right thing, but there are concerns.
Yeah, it's got to be opt-in, and it's got to be a sales pitch. If you're going to present this again, I've talked about the importance of leadership, the importance of communication, the visionary type of thing that says, here's where we're going with this strategy about dealing with COVID-19. We're going to flatten the curve, and then we're going to have this in place next. And I don't know where that next thing is, because I don't think we've had the leadership we need on many levels. But the more we can get to a place where people are presented all the right facts and can make a choice, but it is going to be the choice. There's always going to be a percentage of our colleagues, a percentage of the society that doesn't opt in, whatever that looks like, whether it's buying an app, downloading an app, you know, agreeing to certain terms and conditions, walking into a movie theater. If you don't agree with the terms, don't walk in. But in a workplace, you have to walk in. So there's going to be a percentage of people in a free society that choose not to. I guess we just have to do a really good job of telling them and proving that they can trust whoever it is with that data, that the proper controls will be in place. And that's a tough challenge. It's a tough hurdle, because we've certainly failed. When I say we, societally, governmentally, you know, corporately, people have failed to gather.
Yeah.
When they gather data, they let it slip out, and it becomes a problem. And it's just one of those wicked problems that Rex Milner always talks about. And I can see it being a conversation for many months to come, but I hope we can figure it out, because
Yep.
I want to get through this thing, as we all do.
Yeah, we sure do. We sure do. So interesting conversation, Mike, this morning. I appreciate
Yeah,
it. I
very
hope
much
you
so.
feel a little better
I
than
do. I
than we
just talking
started.
to you
That's
makes me
good.
happy.
That's good.
That's
That's good.
that's what's great about these, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate your candidness. I appreciate your optimism, and I am always inspired by that. And I will leave you with an inspirational quote I shared yesterday on my live stream. It's from C.S. Lewis, and he's just an author who I've admired for many years. He's helped me get through so many challenging times through my life. And there's a quote that says, "There are far, far better things ahead than any we leave behind." So think positively, look to the future, and know that there are good times ahead, folks.
Great words. Great words of wisdom to finish with. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you.
And don't forget to check out the Andrew Mawson video that's just now going live. Great.
Perfect.
Thank you.